real life, which is something he didn't do in the first fight. This is the most trouble I've ever seen Ray Leonard in. Right here, he is badly hurt.
If Hearns goes down, he'll wonder for the rest of his life why he gave Leonard this chance.
Can Ray Leonard do it? He's got a minute to go and an exhausted fighter in front of him. Indiana Jones 3, Star Trek 5, Ghostbusters 2. Sequels seldom deliver the original goods, but in this season of sequels, one of them already has. Leonard versus Hearns. Hello, I'm Larry Merchant, and we're here to show you how once again, Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns exceeded all expectations. In sheer drama, even exceeded themselves. Except that the conclusion, after the brawl was over, was inconclusive. A draw. But was it truly, or as most viewers believe, did the judges, bedazzled by Leonard, misjudge? We'll show you the fight in its entirety, then interview those judges and ask all the experts out there, you, who really won, via a 900 number. And of course, the fighters will give us their thoughts on the fight, the result, and their futures. Rematch or retirement. Here now is what happened inside the ring. Leonard Hearns 2.
Here's the impressive sight, which has become home to boxing's biggest events. From Caesars Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, HBO Sports presents World Championship Boxing. Tonight, WBC Super Middleweight Champion Ray Leonard defends his title against Thomas Hearns. It's scheduled for 12 rounds. This outdoor arena has staged some of the most dramatic confrontations in recent boxing history. In the past decade, Hagler-Duran, Hearns-Duran, Hagler-Hearns, Leonard-Hagler, and of course, September 16, 1981, two welterweight champions met in a ring classic, Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns. Tonight, we're here to see if these two aging super middleweights can rekindle the memories of nearly 8 years ago. And hello, I'm Jim Lampley. So now, after a wait of nearly 8 years, we are finally ready for Leonard Hearns 2. This bout takes place after a long and bizarre, some would say over the theatrical promotional tour, which attempted to compare the fight to a world war. Also after the initially offhand and lighthearted taunt from Hearns, which touched off, perhaps unjustifiably, a spate of newspaper stories about the prospect of steroid use in this sport. And of course, most recently, after the arrest 48 hours ago of Thomas Hearns' younger brother, Henry, in the connection with an apparent shooting death of a woman in a home owned by Hearns in Southfield, Michigan. Nevertheless, now all attention turns to the fight itself. And here to help put us in perspective for us is HBO's boxing analyst, Larry Merchant. Larry, cynics would say, and do say, here are two aging fighters going into the ring for a lot of money, which ought to go to younger, fitter fighters. What about all that?
Boxing is a sport that invites cynicism, but this isn't a fat George Foreman meeting guys who can't fight back to try to fight for the heavyweight championship of the world. This is Henry Fonda and John Wayne in the twilight of their careers meeting in the KO Corral back there. These guys are quality athletes. They've given us thrills and chills for a decade, and they've earned the right to this rematch. And in fact, many, many memorable fights have been fought by great fighters in the twilight of their careers when they slow down enough to become vulnerable. Sugar Ray Robinson, Joe Louis, Archie Moore, And, of course, Ray Leonard when he fought Marvin Hagler. What could be better than that? Let's have another one of those.
And, of course, the public's demand for this fight is underlined by a financial bonanza, which is expected to make it one of the largest grossing bouts in the history of the sport. But if there's anyone who should complain about the presence of these two men in the ring, it's the man whom Ray Leonard himself has called the best middleweight in the world, Michael Nunn, who now waits on the sidelines while older fighters gobble up all these dollars. Michael, do you see this as two quality fighters who deserve this kind of exposure, or are these interlopers poaching on your territory?
Well, no, I don't think so. I think, you know, Tommy and Sugar Ray should get together and settle differences. Maybe it's 8 years too late, but let them go on and fight and get out the way, and hopefully they'll give me an opportunity to fight one of them.
You don't mind waiting on the sideline for now?
I'm a young man, Jim, and I don't mind waiting. You know, I just want to fight the ultimate winner.
All right, you will see who the winner will be from very close range as Michael, in place of Ray Leonard, our normal HBO analyst, will sit in with us tonight and help call a part of the fight with us. So now Thomas Hearns moves from his dressing room toward the ring for what he himself says now and has been saying for years would be the biggest night of his life. The most important fight of his career. He has fought 16 times, as you can see, since the bout with Ray Leonard in 1981. This will be Leonard's fourth fight since that time, and it is partially because of that much exposure in the ring, and of course the knockout losses to such as marvelous Marvin Hagler and Iran Barkley, that many believe that it is Hearns, not the older Ray Leonard, who brings a shop-worn body into the ring.
That's true, because he hasn't been the Tommy Hearns of sweet memory in his last few fights. But possibly that can be excused because he may be like a guy who has played in $1,000 poker games, who, when he fights lesser fighters, is like the same guy having to fight in $5 poker games. He just wasn't as ready and wasn't as hyped up. We know he's had a long, sincere training effort. This fight means so much to him that he has to be considered dangerous and ready.
Thomas Hearns has had 49 professional fights. He will be remembered, regardless of what happens tonight, more for his defeats than for his victories.
I suppose his misfortune is that he came along at a time when there were so many other great fighters in his weight class.
38 knockouts among the 46 victories, and indeed, it has been the regret of Thomas Hearns' career, something beyond his control, that he has not had the audience appeal that his opponent tonight, Ray Leonard, possessed from the time he first entered the ring. And there he comes. As we mentioned, this will be only his fourth bout since the Thomas Hearns fight.
And one of the things that distinguishes Ray Leonard from other outstanding talents who have been prize fighters is that he has been able to give his best on the big occasion. He goes beyond the big occasion. And of course, that's what happened in the first fight between Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns. A lot was expected of it because of the unusual circumstance of two great young fighters developing in parallel paths at the same time in the same division. He was the one who was able to deal with it.
Since the first fight with Thomas Hearns, there was a bout with Bruce Finch. That was followed by retirement and eye surgery for the detached retina condition of the left eye. Then, a few years later, he came out of retirement to fight Kevin Howard, a bout in which, for the first time in his career, he was knocked on his butt in the ring. Retired for another 35 months, made the dramatic comeback against Hagler, fought against Donnie Lalonde, a 175-pound fighter, in November of 1988 in this ring. And now, for the first time since 1981, he puts together two fights in less than a year.
And part of the significance of those two fights you mentioned, Howard and Lalonde, was that he was knocked down for the only time in his professional career. And then we found out about what's inside Ray Leonard. And one of the givens of this fight is that when Ray Leonard is hurt, he's at his most dangerous. When Tommy Hearns has been hurt in the past, he has stayed hurt.
Ray Leonard is wearing a robe which serves as a tribute to Nelson Mandela. And according to the information coming from Leonard's camp, it was 25 years ago on this day that Nelson Mandela, the imprisoned South African martyr of apartheid, was put in jail. So taking up the mantle of anti-apartheid tonight is Ray Leonard, and there is the ring record, 35 wins. The one loss, a decision to Roberto Duran in Montreal in 1980. 25 KOs among the 35 victories. Much has been made of the new muscularity of Ray Leonard. He has, of course, gained 22 pounds and then come back down a little bit since his first fight with Hearns. There's a look at the tail of the tape. Hearns still with the imposing height and reach advantages. Interesting that Hearns weighed in at 162.5 pounds, Leonard down at 160. The weight limit for this fight was 168.
Well, of course, there's been a lot of talk about a weight limit of 164 pounds in their contract, but this weight may be best for Tommy Hearns. And here is our punch stat profile of the fighters and how active they generally are and how accurate they generally are with their punches. And now you can take a look at their jabs, and that is particularly important for Tommy Hearns, because when he fought at a distance in the first fight, that's when he dominated that fight.
The rules of the bout, and this will be conducted under the rules of the World Boxing Council, whose super middleweight title is at stake. 3 judges scoring on the 10-point must system, no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule, so you can be knocked down 3 times and still be in the fight. And you can be saved by the bell only in the last round. Right now, let's go up to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the pre-fight introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Caesar's Palace here in Las Vegas, Nevada, where tonight Top Rank and Budweiser present The War. This bout is sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission. Chairman Dr. Elias Ghanem. The commissioners are Dwayne Ford, Jay Nady, Dr. James Nave, and Freddie Little, Executive Director Chuck Minker. Representing the World Boxing Council here at ringside is the president of that organization, Jose Suleiman, and supervisor Sam Macias. The chief physician at ringside, Dr. Donald Romeo. Also in attendance, Dr. Flip Romansky and Dr. James Wishgame. Timekeeper, Al Bisick. Counting for the knockdown seconds, Mike Lachella. The 3 judges doing the scoring for this bout, Jerry Roth, Dalby Shirley, and Tommy Kazmarek. And now, ladies and gentlemen, from Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas, Nevada, Top Rank and the King of Beers, Budweiser, present The War. Let's get ready to rumble! 12 rounds for the WBC Super Middleweight Championship of the World. The referee for this contest, working for the 65th time in a world title bout, is Richard Steele. Introducing first, fighting out of the red corner, he's wearing the gold colors of the famous Kronk Gym in Detroit, Michigan. His professional record, 46 victories, 38 by knockout, only 3 defeats. Included in his history is the welterweight, super welterweight, middleweight, super middleweight, and light heavyweight world championships. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, he challenges for the WBC super middleweight title. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting the 5-time champion of the world, Thomas Hitman Hearns. And fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the red and white trunks from Landover, Maryland, this Olympic gold medalist of the 1976 Games has a professional record of 35-1, 25 by KOs. He is a 6-time world champion in 5 different divisions, including welterweight, junior middleweight, middleweight, super middleweight, and light heavyweight divisions. Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the WBC super middleweight champion of the world, Sugar Ray Leonard.
Okay, I spoke to both fighters in the dressing room. I'm cautioning again, obey my commands at all times. If there's no question, shake hands, good luck.
The question here, Jim, is whether Hearns will try to stay outside where he was most successful in their first fight, and whether Ray Leonard will go on the attack where he was most successful in the first fight.
And let the record state that the two fighters did not make eye contact with one another until just a couple moments ago, after referee's instructions. Ray Leonard tried to engage Tommy Hearns in a staring duel. Hearns did not look at him except for one brief moment when he was introduced, and at that point, Ray looked away. As the bout begins, Hearns tries a jab and attempts to set the tempo. The Hearns jab was the dominant weapon of the first 5 rounds of Leonard Hearns 1, and Tommy is trying to establish it as such once again. Very quickly, Michael Nunn, what do you expect to see these two men trying to do in the early going?
Well, I figure the first round is going to be like a full-round process between both fighters. You know, Tommy's going to come out and try to get the jab established, and Ray's going to just sit back and let him pick and block his shots.
Leonard steps in for the first time, misses with a left uppercut, and moves back out.
Ray was going to the body. It seems apparent to me, Jim, that he's going to try to fight a bit of a war of attrition here by going to the body and getting Hearns tired.
Hearns is a little dry. Hasn't really broken much of a sweat here in round 1.
Oddly enough, in his 2 most important fights against Leonard and Hearns and Hagler, Hearns did not come in right physically. He came in underweight and overtrained for Leonard. He came in with his legs feeling weak for Hagler.
And if a fighter is dry throughout the early rounds, then one thing you suggest to yourself is that he might be overtrained. Leonard lands a jab to the side of Hearns' face. First solid blow for him.
Now Ray is standing his ground more. Again, he goes to the body.
You are seeing the flat-footed style of the new Ray Leonard. This is not the Ray Leonard who danced his way into the hearts of boxing fans in the early part of the decade.
That may be a message punch.
Just missed with a right cross, and Hearns smiles and waves as if to say, come on back. But right now, it is Leonard who is seizing the initiative, as Hearns has stopped throwing the jab.
Hearns has said that he wants to catch Ray Leonard on the way in, but Leonard is so quick jumping in with those big punches, that's going to be difficult right off.
And he scored with a right-hand lead over Hearns' jab. Ray says that Tommy has a habit of dropping the left now. Round 1 complete.
You got it, brother? Huh? He's not as fast as Lon. You understand? He's not as fast as Lon.
He's looking a little.
Looking good. People are going to start pumping his jabs a little bit more now, okay? Because you're breaking up, Islam.
Good time, set him up. Beautiful. And you see everything you can do in that round, just about you can do. You saw it.
You know when people...
He's going to go for every point you make. But I got to have that 1-2 at him. All right? See if we can do it off a double stick.
Looking real good. Okay? Looking real good. You're going to find the right hand now. Just a matter of time.
Come on.
Stay where you are.
Stay directly in front of him. Just move. Okay? Good luck.
All right.
Very quickly, Michael Nunn, which fighter would have the mental edge coming out of round 1?
Well, probably have to lean toward Tommy Hearns because Leonard Stewart was telling me to get that jab to work, start throwing more jabs, and Ray's corner, they weren't saying that much.
Incidentally, for the second consecutive fight, Ray Leonard fights without Angelo Dundee in the corner, the man who was a fixture in so many of his great victories in the past. This time, another regular, Janks Morton, is absent from the corner. Dave Jacobs, who was in Hearns' corner for the fight in September of '81, returns to Ray Leonard's corner tonight.
By staying this way, flat-footed right in front of Hearns, Leonard is saying to Hearns, go ahead, lead. I'm going to counter you. Both of them want to counter right now. That's why not too much is happening.
Leonard landed a looping left, but it had no snap.
Again, Leonard to the body.
Hearns is not yet pumping the jab the way Emanuel Stewart asked him to do. Hearns tries to land a right. Leonard blocked it.
If this is a war, as this fight was advertised, right now it's just a war of attrition.
Almost a war of nerves. There's been very little contact. Short with the right hand. Leonard was able to step back. But Hearns is becoming a little more active now within the past 45 seconds.
Leonard trying to get inside of those long arms of Tommy Hearns.
With the exception of the occasional jab, flicking jab from Tommy Hearns, both fighters remain a little out of range of one another, and just as I say that, Leonard is able to step in and land. Round 2 coming to a close. Leonard switches to a southpaw stance and takes the right hand in the face for his trouble.
Every time you get that good jab off, now I'm going to go to double the jab and put a hard right hand behind it. But finish on that left hook. He's there for your right hand left hook. Let's go with it. Every time you make a little freeze move, he's freezing. Now throw that one through at him when you do that. But finish with that left hook. All right, we're looking fine. Keep them shoulders moving more. Don't stand stationary.
A capacity crowd on hand, not an empty seat in the house. Round 3 begins in the desert. First 2 rounds, tentative, a feeling out process. One of the most effective blows, a right hand by Hearns just at the end of round 2 after Leonard had switched to a southpaw stance, a strategy he toyed with throughout his training in Florida. Leonard still trying to get inside to the body of Hearns. Very conscious of going for Tommy's ribcage. Hearns beginning to flick the jab a little more often than was the case prior to the midpoint of round 2. Saw Leonard try a right toward the kidney of Hearns. He believes that he can get there with that punch if he sets it up correctly. Hearns is landing with the jab now, and this begins to assume some of the complexion of the first fight, particularly the first 4 or 5 rounds. Now Leonard is able to step in and land his jab. Not in such a way as to do damage to Tommy. Right hand by Hearns, and Leonard is stopped in his tracks. Hearns gains confidence and knocks Leonard down. It has long been regarded as one of the great weapons in the sport. Tommy Hearns' right cross. Now he tries to land it again. Leonard fighting back.
Keep remembering that when he's hurt, Sugar Ray Leonard is dangerous.
Well, he's hurt right now.
And he is somewhat hurt, a little stunned right now. And Hearns is wary of that reputation.
Hearns landing with the left. Has not been able to get the right in a second time.
And Ray is going after him. And Hearns is laying back.
And Reyes lands a right and a left to show Tommy Hearns he's out of the temporary stupor. Hearns comes back with another right. They stand toe-to-toe and trade blows.
Let's take a look at that knockdown again. Tommy Hearns has said over the years that that little monster has been deviling him and running after him all these years because of the memory of that first. But now Tommy Hearns is chasing the monster down. That was the time when they both threw right hands. Hearns' right hand got in, and he follows up with it.
So there was the solid right cross, which set it up. Then he hit Ray on the back of the head with that one, which caused the knockdown.
Much like the knockdown of Donnie Lalonde in their fight, a high on the head.
Third time in his career that Ray Leonard has been knocked down. And I think that would have to be one of the most devastating single punches he ever took, the right cross that set it up.
From his point of view, Hearns is fighting a practically perfect fight, patient, using his left hand, trying to goad Leonard into making moves, and giving Leonard all kinds of problems as he tries to probe to get inside.
Michael Nunn, are you surprised at how close Leonard is staying to Hearns in this round?
Yes, I'm real surprised. I figured Ray would be staying at a distance, trying to slip the jab, but he's right in there with Tommy. He's letting him know that, hey, let's go to war and do it.
Knowing the competitiveness of Ray Leonard, I believe he thinks he has to do something dramatic here to get the crowd on his side, to get the officials on his side. Otherwise, he can find himself climbing a mountain again, as in the first fight.
But he runs the risk of putting himself in range of that devastating right hand, which has already had him down once. Leonard lands the right. It was a bit of a glancing blow. Hearns smiled. Ray showing a lot of courage, stepping back up in there time and again. Leonard landed 2 solid shots to the body there. Tries to go back to the ribcage. To the body. Solid shot. Tries to follow it up. Hearns missed with the right. Leonard is seizing the initiative, but giving Hearns a lot of chances. And he landed the right there. And indeed, suddenly it begins to look like a war.
Yeah.
Come back, come on.
Just missed. with both fighters making assertive statements.
All right. Yeah, we want that right hand more. He can't, look, he has no answer for the right hand. Do it off the jab. I want to see some jab and the hard right hand on top. Squat when you do it. Jab, squat, throw it over top. Then, Ray, when you come back the next time, hurt that body. Start hurting that body. I got to get those legs away from him. Got it? Hit on to the body.
That was a grazing punch by Tommy Hearns. Now watch Ray Leonard go back in, throw a right, followed by a left and a double uppercut to the body.
If you look back at the Lalonde fight, Larry, you might suggest that the knockdown that Lalonde was able to pin on Ray seemed to wake him up, invigorate him a little bit. Something of the same thing appeared to happen here.
Well, we know how intelligent a fighter Ray Leonard is and how much presence he has in the fight. And he has to know that these have been 4 difficult rounds for him and that he's fallen far behind. There was a bit of desperation in some of his lunges in that previous round. Let's see what he can do to try to break Hearns down. Hearns seems to have gained confidence and is coming on very assertively.
Look how energetic Hearns is with the jab now, peppering Leonard time and time again. And remember that Tommy was able to nearly close Ray's left eye with the left jab in fight number 1. Leonard just pawing with the jab and leaving it out there. Lunging again, as you say, Larry. It is Leonard who looks tentative and Hearns who looks commanding in round 5. Another right cross by Hearns, sneaked in between Leonard's gloves. Great left. And now it is Hearns who wobbles against the rope. A tremendous left hook following the right hand by Ray Leonard.
And now Hearns is holding on for dear life, which is something he didn't do in the first fight.
A right and a left. Leonard just missing with and a right plant. Hearns in a lot of trouble with a long way to go in this round. Hearns not giving back. Richard Steele looking carefully. Tommy throws a wild right that leaves himself open. Hearns grabbing again as he did against Kinchin. Now he gives Ray a chance to wail away. Leonard landed another right.
And Hearns is fighting back valiantly, unlike the first fight.
And now Hearns seems to regain a bit of himself.
Hearns has taken some of Leonard's best stuff here.
Very close to hitting on the break, but Leonard got away with the left hook. But it looks as though Hearns may weather the storm. Reminiscent of round 6 in the first fight, Leonard again completely turns things around.
And that's the best round of all the rounds they fought.
This is what makes a great fighter. This is what makes a great. You understand? Where's that? Hold your hand back. Hold your hand back. Okay. This is what...
Let's take a look at what happens here. And there was the left hook that wobbled Hearns and started the onslaught from Sugar Ray Leonard to get him back into this fight.
Both punches in the combination landed, the overhand right and the startling left hook.
You're always hearing trainers tell their fighters, put your punches together. That's what happened when you throw more than one punch at a time. The right was a grazing right. The left connected solidly and turned that round around at least.
Round 6 begins. Michael Nunn, who holds the upper hand now?
Well, the last round, Ray kind of took charge. He hit Tommy with a good right hand, came back with a left hook and had him hurt toward the end of the last round. So, Ray he has charge right now.
We'll see if he can maintain the edge. Hearns tries to come back with the jab again. He's been most effective in this fight when working off the jab. Not terribly surprising. That was also the case in 1981.
And Hearns seems to have recovered. He has trained very hard for this fight. And of course, to him, as he has stated in so many different ways, it's life and death. And that kind of high motivation is keeping him going here, where he had such a hard time in the first fight.
Leonard got a jab in and managed to slip both of Hearns' punches in return.
And a little bit of blood coming from Hearns' mouth.
Tommy starting to grin a little bit. There is a small trickle of blood around the bottom lip.
So far, Ray Leonard has been unable to follow up on the advantage of the last round.
And while Hearns continues to use the jab a lot, though, it is not the jolting, stiff jab with which he dominated rounds 3 and 4. Leonard showing off his ability to slip the jab, steps in and hits Hearns with a right cross, and Hearns comes back with a straight left. Leonard beginning to become the busier fighter in tight. Working the body and remembering to throw when the two stand in close.
You all right?
Okay.
Lift his mouthpiece on.
Okay, where's the chin?
Hold the chin. Give him his mouthpiece. Good.
All right, Harold Letterman, our unofficial official. How do you score the fight so far?
Larry, I've got it 4 rounds to 2 in favor of Tommy Hearns. For the first 4 rounds, I thought he was fighting a perfect fight. He had Ray Leonard on the end of the jab. He was doubling the jab, and then all of a sudden, Sugar Ray Leonard turned it around in the 5th round. He went up in Tommy Hearns' face, and he gave Tommy Hearns a bad beating in the 5th round, and he stayed in his face, landed the better shots in the 6th.
Something to keep in mind here, Jim and Mike. Their first fight was a watershed fight in scoring. After that first fight, a lot of people objected to the scoring because Leonard didn't get full credit for the rounds he dominated. And since that time, it has been more of a practice here and elsewhere to score 10-8 rounds. And that could become a crucial factor in this fight tonight.
Hearns landed a left that backed Leonard up. Ray Leonard began this round standing very close to Tommy Hearns, and he may pay a price for it. Hearns wailing away. Leonard staggers against the ropes a bit. Tommy's leaving himself open if Ray can come back with anything.
This is the most trouble I've ever seen Ray Leonard in. Right here, he is badly hurt. And only his experience and his guts can carry him through here. Older fighters are more vulnerable to getting hit, and Ray is getting hit more good punches than we've seen him get hit with before.
And right now, he's been hurt badly enough that those punches he's throwing are pawing, waving punches with no snap behind them. It is Hearns who's doing all the damage here in round 7. Now Leonard begins to get some starch back in his punches. But Hearns lands the right again. You get the feeling that if Hearns can step across and land the right on balance, Leonard's going to have trouble staying up.
Little smile on Tommy Hearns' lips. He's saying it's a little different now, isn't it?
Surely few have ever wanted more badly to win a fight than Tommy Hearns wants to win tonight. Too much? We'll see.
Sometimes I've thought, Jim, that he almost wanted to win it too much, and that tensed him up.
Leonard coming back with a furious assault to the body. And when he throws to the body, Hearns does not throw back at him.
Amazing recuperative powers by Ray Leonard. Amazing combative instincts.
Amazing ability to seize and dominate the last 30 seconds to the minute of a round. And Leonard will survive another round in which it appeared early that he was out on his feet.
He's sticking his legs out there. Yeah. All right? All right. Eddie, check him out here, boy. Nothing wrong. Just check. Put that sponge on there. Very soft, crazy. Look, you're standing up too tall. Number one. How did you straight? Now listen, you got to get the body. Got your legs first. Go in, steal what you want, and move him around a little bit. Steal what you want and move around.
This is the barrage that had Ray Leonard in trouble in the early part of that round. And if Tommy Hearns didn't get overexcited, he might have finished him there. Hearns saw a chance to end the fight right then, but it eluded him. We'll see if that becomes costly.
He did not effectively set up Ray and measure him for the right cross, which is the punch with which he might be able to end the fight.
But this is a more poised Tommy Hearns. He's staying in the fight. He's fighting a well-disciplined fight. And right now, he's leading convincingly.
Such was the case in September of 1981 as well.
And keep in mind, that was a 15-round fight that went 14 rounds. This is a 12-round fight.
And if that fight had been stopped at 12 rounds, Tommy Hearns was the winner on all three cards. Remarkable fight so far. The graphic you saw between rounds indicated both fighters in the first 7 rounds threw an equal number of punches.
Ray Leonard, I believe, had been counting on Hearns to show fatigue as the fight wore on. He's had a problem with his stamina in some recent fights. We don't see any signs of it yet.
Do you agree with that, Michael? Tommy Hearns does not look tired to you yet?
No, Tommy, he's not tired. You know what I mean? He's really surprised with his conditioning.
What about Ray?
Ray, too, you know what I mean? What I think Ray's trying to do is let Tommy punch himself out. And rounds 8, 9, and 10, he'll try to pick the pace up.
Isn't it a gamble falling as far behind on points as he may be falling at this moment?
Yes, you know, by fights going 12 rounds, it's not beneficial to Ray Leonard by letting Tommy take control.
He may not have any choice. in its waning minute. Hearns continuing to stalk Leonard around the ring. Right cross just missed. Leonard with a right and then a left inside.
One thing that should be emphasized here, Jim, at this weight, Tommy Hearns is obviously stronger defensively than he was at 145 pounds in their first fight. Given the size of his body, this is a more natural weight for him, and he appears to be stronger at this weight, at least in this fight.
But of course it was at something close to this weight. He was knocked out by Iran Barkley, knocked down by James Kinchin.
When you go to throw the right hand, do it off a jab to the belly. You can throw it on top, man. I want you to go out and do it now. I need some body work, man. Too straight up. Come down a little bit, okay? We know how to attack from both sides of it.
Don't run the shoulder. Listen up, slow down.
Pardon me?
Listen up, slow down. You all right? Okay, all you gotta do is throw punches.
Right now? Don't want bending you jab. Use your left jab. Handing up. You got to protect that body of his. Okay? All right.
The boy is tired. He is tired now.
Tommy Hearns appears to be far ahead in this fight. Ray Leonard is going to have to do something dramatic and soon.
4 rounds remaining. Hearns showing no signs of fatigue, still dominating much of the action with his jab, and occasionally stepping in for heavy blows. He has twice had Ray Leonard in serious trouble, once down on the canvas. On the other hand, Leonard nearly had Hearns on his back in round 5. Hearns complaining to referee Richard Steele that Leonard threw a low blow, and Leonard acknowledged it. Steele stepped away. Solid right cross by Leonard, partially blocked though, I think. Hearns able to step back up.
Punching it out. Punching it out. Punching it out. Don't hold.
Right now, the master plan for the middleweight division is in a little bit of disarray. Tommy Hearns keeps this up. There will be no Leonard Duran 3. There probably won't be a Leonard Hagler 2. Might be a Leonard Hearns 3. Or Ray Leonard, being a proud man, might pack it in.
Or how about none Hearns 1?
Well, Tommy Hearns has already said he wants no part of Michael Nunn.
He may want part of the money which could ensue as a result of a bout like that. Hearns just missed with a right hand that might have ended matters then and there.
Your thoughts?
Hard left by Leonard, and Hearns is staggered momentarily again. Leonard steps in. Not much time to go to work on this. And Hearns again holds on.
You got to come out and let your big shots go. You cannot afford to make this fight go longer now. You understand? You got to listen to me very carefully. You got to come out and let your shots go. Try to get this man out of here this round, okay?
Let's take a look. A left hand. And turn that round around. Will it turn the fight around? Which shows us that we have two predators in the ring here, taking their turns at going. Harold, how do you have the fight now?
Larry, 87-83, 6 rounds to 3. Favorite Thomas Hearns. I think he's keeping him on the end of the left jab and scoring effectively with the right hand.
So increasingly, Michael Nunn, it appears that Ray Leonard may lead a knockout.
Ray Leonard is going in for the kill if it's there. He wants to get at Hearns right now. He knows he must do something dramatic and decisive.
And Hearns is still staggered from the flurry that ended the last round. Leonard was just able to knock him back into the ropes with a jab.
And not a hard jab at that.
Left hand on the face. Leonard may have a shot here.
Can Ray Leonard do it again?
This is a fighter who has shown a matchless ability to rise to occasions. You just saw the scorecard of our Harold Letterman, which would suggest that if the other scorecards are in sync, Ray may need a knockout to avoid losing Leonard Hearns too.
Michael, are you surprised that Ray isn't being a little bit more reckless here?
I think Ray should be real reckless here right now. I mean, because, you know, Tommy's like holding back. He should take charge and just start letting his hands go.
Which punches or which combination of punches would be most likely to get the job done for him?
The uppercut to the midsection, then up to the chin. The shot he hurt him with the last round. I think he'll be successful if he starts throwing that shot.
It would appear that Ray has blown the opportunity to capitalize on the damage he did to Hearns at the end of round 9. Hearns now apparently has his legs back under. There's a bloody mark on Tommy Hearns' left cheek under his eye. Apparently a small cut there.
This is a very warm night in the desert. Both fighters have absorbed some hard punches. Will they be able to sustain their attacks in these last 2.5 rounds?
Leonard goes to the body again. And now Hearns has recovered from the beating he took at the end of round 9. Crowd chanting, Tommy, Tommy.
Baby. They're begging you to throw the right hand.
Get the damn camera out of there.
Throw the right hand, Tommy. That's gonna take you home. This is the 11th round coming up. The 11th round, you don't want to fight, let it go.
Thomas, listen to me. Jab, right hand, left hook. I want that right hand straight to the forehead. Come back with the left hook. You can knock him out with a jab, straight hand.
A little bit low, you too straight up. Anybody hit him with those jabs and right hands. Bring it down a little bit, okay? All right, all right. All right, let's go now.
We all remember this moment 8 years ago. Angelo Dundee spurring Ray Leonard on with the words, "You're blowing it, son, you're blowing it." But nobody has to tell Ray Leonard that. He's standing in the middle of the round, in the middle of the ring, and he knows that he can blow this fight if he doesn't do something fast.
And you saw Richard Steele preventing Leonard from making a bull rush toward Hearns to begin that round. At the end of the last round, there was a brief staring match as Hearns stared ominously at Leonard. Leonard, rejoicing over the solid right hand he had landed to end the round, went back to his corner and threw his arms in the air, attempting to look the part of the winner, as he has done so successfully in the past. Right now, he is a Ray Leonard, in all likelihood, trailing on points in the closing minutes against Tommy Hearns. He's been in that position once before. Oh, a solid right hand by Hearns. Spectacular right cross, and Leonard is in trouble again.
And Ray Leonard had a look on his face there that I had never seen before.
A look of utter bewilderment.
Trying to regain his composure, and he jumps back in with a right hand. Does he have enough left to do any damage with it?
This is the first time in Ray Leonard's career that he's been knocked down twice in a fight. Both times he was the victim of sensational right crosses from Thomas Hearns. But how many fighters would come back in with this will and this gumption at this point in the fight?
I can think of one of them.
You're looking at it. Hearns just missed with a haymaker. Leonard landing with the left. And stepping back in. 3 minutes, 40 seconds left in the fight.
Hearns has fought a much smarter fight than he did in the first fight. Every time he's been hurt a little bit, he's folded those big arms around Ray Leonard and bought some time. He didn't do it at all in the first fight.
Come on, work your way out.
Tommy Hearns is 1 round away.
There's a right hand that staggered Ray Leonard. He's hurt now. Tommy Hearns patiently goes after him. 2 more right hands. And Ray falls down almost from exhaustion as well as from the hurt. As we said earlier, when great fighters come to the end of their careers, they become more vulnerable, and they often give us memorable fights. Ray Leonard needs a knockout. He knows it.
Let's go, champ.
Leonard begins the round with a small smile on his face. Surely he has no illusion.
Tommy Hearns isn't holding back when all he could do is play out the round.
This is the pride of Tommy Hearns. He would love nothing more than to put Leonard down for good.
He just doesn't want to win. He wants to beat up his tormentor. He wants to spear the white whale.
He wants to get rid of 8 years of nightmares.
either of these great warriors. Can Ray Leonard do it? He's got a minute to go and an exhausted fighter in front of him.
If Hearns goes down, he'll wonder for the rest of his life why he gave Leonard this chance. In the 12th round of the fight, he had apparently won.
They're coming across the finish line with nothing left. They've given every ounce of what they have in their hearts, and they have big hearts.
Greater display of what it is that makes men fighters.
As Boris Becker said in the recent French Open, when you get to the end of a grueling match, it had nothing to do with tennis. This had nothing to do with fighting there in the last minute. It had to do with what these men are made of.
Final punch stat statistics for the fight. A statistical profile of what you've just seen. Ray Leonard throwing 92 more punches than Hearns by the count of the punch stat computer. Hearns landing at a higher rate and certainly landing more of the significant and damaging blows in the fight. Hearns twice knocking Leonard down. Harold Letterman, your final unofficial scorecard.
Jim, I've got it 7-5 in rounds, 115 to 111 in favor of Thomas Hearns. I thought that Thomas Hearns kept Sugar Ray Leonard on the end of his jab effectively. He did a lot of damage. He set up the right hand by using the left jab, but Hearns used that left jab effectively.
Right now, let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official decision.
Here's the official scoring. Jerry Roth scores the bout 113 to 112 for Thomas Hearns. Tommy Kazmarek scores it 113 to 112 for Sugar Ray Leonard. And Dalby Shirley scores the bout 112, 112. This bout is a draw, ladies and gentlemen.
It goes without saying, we take this as a major shock. And so does this crowd. It was, right up until the moment that decision was announced, a great prize fight. Every bit the showcase for two warriors that we had expected it might be. It was a courageous performance by Ray Leonard. It was a courageous, and in my eyes at least, a dominant performance by Tommy Hearns. Unfortunately, it is now a fight which will forever be remembered more for the decision than for what took place in the 12 rounds leading to it.
Leonard Hearns, Duran Hagler. What a decade in the welterweight and middleweight divisions. Joining us now from a studio in Detroit, Tommy Hearns, and from Washington, D.C., Ray Leonard. Tommy, starting with you, there was a very pure moment right after that fight, even when that disappointing to you decision was announced. You were so elated with your performance, it was almost as if you really didn't care what anybody else said.
That's not true. I cared. It played I felt very concerned about that, but knowing that after the judges, and made the decision, there's nothing really you can do about it. You have to really accept, I guess, the decision that they made.
Well, but since that time, you've said you thought you were robbed. What's changed
I said that I thought that I was ahead at least 4 rounds.
Do you think that if the situation was reversed and Ray had knocked you down twice, that would have only been a draw?
I don't think so. I think that I felt that Ray is a big person in Las Vegas or any city that he fights in, and as he can get, if it was a point that it was in a fight where he had the edge, I felt that he probably would have been victorious that night. Yeah.
But I'd like to point out, as I turn to Ray, that when you fought James Kinchin, you were knocked down, and you got a controversial decision. Ray, do you think there's some aura about you or the way you fight that attracts judges?
I don't agree with that, Larry. I wish that the aura would affect Tommy Hearns. Apparently it didn't. But if anything, I think it's just a matter of the way the judges saw fit to score the fight. Naturally, I didn't particularly fight my kind of fight. I didn't feel mentally committed to the game to do the best that I could. It was just a strange evening for me, a very physical evening for me, but thank God things turned out okay.
Let's then re-examine the highlights of the first half of that fight. All right, let's go to round 3 first, the first decisive round of the fight. What happened here, fellas?
Well, I looked Tommy right in the eyes, Larry, and we had the same thing in mind to throw the right hand. It was a matter whose right hand would get there first.
Well, were you hurt when he hit you the second time? Was he already hurt by then?
I was dazed. Yes, I was dazed. In fact, I slipped his right hand and it caught me behind the back of the head, Larry, but I still was dazed. Here I'm very conscious and he's really trying to counter Tommy, but Tommy's trying to get in the left hook to the body and to counter with his right hand also.
Were you surprised, Tommy, that you were able to knock him down this early in the fight?
Well, you know, I never underestimate the power that I possess in that right hand. I knew that if I was able to get to Ray, I knew I would be able to do some damage. I didn't know how much damage, but I knew I would be able to get some kind of response from him. And it was just determined on the response I got from him. See, just then we just threw the right hand right together. We were both reading each other's mind. We had on the mind, throw the right hand, deliver it, the shot. And I was just trying to put more power behind my right hand than Ray would put behind his.
All right, now you're behind in the fight in everybody's estimation, Ray. Do you know you have to do something and do it quick against this man?
Well, that was my intention, Larry, to pretty much let Tommy spin himself and then take the attack. And this is what I'm doing here in the 5th round. I had Tommy hurt. As a matter of fact, Tommy, you made up your mind that you wouldn't go down this time.
Well, you know, I think in life you have to make your mind what you want to do. In this fight, I was just determined that I was going to go through the fight, I was going to win the fight, I was not going to be knocked down or out this time.
Because I put some pretty good shots together,
well, and I have to admit,
he surprised me that he stood up.
I have to admit, you did put some great shots together, and I was able to weather the storm. And you know, you surprised me too, Ray.
Ray, you couldn't follow up on your advantage in the next round. Were you winded, or was Tommy stronger than you anticipated?
Well, there's no question about it. Tommy was strong. But what concerns me the most about my performance, Larry, is that I hurt Tommy and I couldn't finish him off. And normally, if I hurt a guy, he's history.
Official Tommy Kazmarek differed with the other 2 officials on the first 2 tentative rounds. All 3 gave Hearns 10-8 margins for that knockdown. And all 3 gave Ray Leonard 10-8 margins for his big round, the 5th. At the end of 6 rounds, Kazmarek had Leonard ahead. By the same score, the other 2 officials had Hearns ahead. Tommy, by being able to withstand some of Ray's best shots in that 5th round and come back in the 6th, do you think you made him doubt himself after that?
I think that it put a lot of thought on his mind because Ray led into the fight. He thought that everything was true that was said about me. that I had no legs, that I had no chin anymore. I wasn't able to take no good punch anymore. So when Ray seen that that wasn't true, I think he had to go back and regroup, and it took time for him to regroup. And by that time, I was already applying the pressure. Then he didn't really know what to think.
Ray, it was obviously a life and death fight for Tommy Hearns. Was that his edge in your judgment? Was it life and death for you?
It turned out to be that way, Larry, because at first it was a no-win situation because I was expected just to blow Tommy out of there because Tommy was considered the guy, the fighter that once was. But Tommy's a fighter that still is. And I had to deal with that, and it became a reality, especially the 3rd and the 11th round.
Did you cut corners in training by going to Florida rather than out in the desert because you wanted to be nearer to your family? By not having your former trainers, Jenks Morton or Angelo Dundee there, men who could tell you to go the extra mile or the extra 5 miles when perhaps you didn't want to?
The absence of Jenks Morton and Angelo Dundee were not at all factors, Larry, because with me to go the extra mile, it only requires myself, self-motivation and self-discipline. And I think once I lose those special qualities, it's time to retire. But I still have those qualities, and unfortunately, I just wasn't as motivated as I should have been, and let alone against a great fight like Tommy Hearns.
Okay, fellas, let's now take a look at the highlights of the second half of the fight. Round 7 was another good round for you, Tommy. What was happening here?
Well, I was trying to take control there, Larry. Using more of the left jab, trying to work off left jab. See, I work in different shots off left jab, trying to make Ray start to work, watch the left hand, and I was able to do a little bit more.
But you got wild here. You let him off the hook, didn't you?
I kind of got a little wild at that time because I was anxious. And I started throwing punches from all angles, all kinds of shots. And Ray was slick. He was very crafty fighter that night, and he was able to move and get away from a lot of those shots.
Now it's the 11th round, Ray. You've won the previous 2 rounds. You're coming on. Did you think that you were going to finish very strongly and come through here as you did in the first fight?
Well, until that right hand, I thought I was going to finish very strong. I stood in the way, and Tommy hit with left hooks and right hands. And Tom doesn't have a left hook, but it landed Monday night.
Well, what does that tell you? Does that tell you that you're not thinking as fast, or that you're 33 years old and you're not moving as fast?
I think it tells them I'm not thinking as fast, Larry. I really believe that my mind was not there. And one thing about an athlete, he never wants to accept the last bell or the last whistle. But watching this fight, apparently something is not right.
And of course, part of that something after you won those previous 2 rounds is that Tommy Hearns is still there, still apparently strong, and still going at you.
Well, I picked the pace up, especially the 11th and 12th round. And the 12th round was my biggest round, I would have to believe. And he surprised me standing up through the barrage of punches. Here his right hand landed, and I was basically trying to make him throw a lot of punches and miss shots, but he was very accurate.
Basically what I was doing there was to I had Leonard watching the left hand because I was doing more with the left hand than I normally do. Normally I'm just using the left hand for one thing, is to jab. And when I started shooting left hook, that's kind of surprised to me because Ray wasn't looking for the left hand. He was never looking for the left hook. He was looking for the straight left jab and the right cross. When the left hand came, then, you know, he was kind of puzzled.
After that round, there was desperation in Ray Leonard's corner. Ray, did you believe you needed a knockout to win?
I felt that the 2 knockdowns didn't particularly help me, and I needed to pour it on. If anything, I kind of felt that the knockdowns would play an emotional role with the judges and the fans.
Yet here comes Hearns when he seemed ahead, and yet he's still throwing everything at you. Tommy, why didn't you just defend what you thought was a big lead?
Well, no, I felt after the 11th round, I felt that I could get Ray out of there to knock him out. And I wanted to go out and try to do that. I was told to just box more, but I guess we have our gut feeling, our little feeling inside, deep down inside. And I felt that I could go out there and work hard and try to get Ray out.
Tommy, you were told to box me?
I was told to come box you, but you know, sometimes we don't listen to instructions very well.
Yeah, listen to instructions, big guy.
Yeah, I should have.
Ray, after all is said and done, do you think it's fair to suggest that you are a stronger welterweight than Tommy, and Tommy is as strong or as stronger than you as a middleweight?
Well, you know, as crazy as it may sound, Larry, I think you're right. I think there's a lot of validity to that, because I went to the ring approximately about 161.5 because I really didn't eat that much, because I weighed in at 160. And Tommy was much bigger and much stronger than I was at this particular weight.
Did you feel that too, Tommy?
I felt that I was probably going to be a little bit bigger than Ray, because I always have been a little bigger than Ray, but I felt that naturally this fight I was going to be a little bigger, and I felt that I was going to be a little stronger than Ray in this fight too. Because back in 1981, I was 17 pounds lighter. So.
How did you survive this? Did he almost have you going down?
Oh no, I was determined. I had a lot of determination in this fight. Determination not to be knocked off my feet at all.
And you held him, which you didn't do in that first fight.
I learned that after that. After 1981, I learned how to hold and how to get myself back together, and then come back and start putting on. Ray hit me. He hit me after the break just a few minutes ago.
I'm sorry, Tommy.
I didn't accept that very well.
Now, you are ahead now of where you were in 1981 on the judges' cards, Ray, but could you guys have really gone on after this?
Larry, that's what I needed, a few more rounds, but then again, I'm glad it wasn't a few more rounds left.
Yeah, for one time in my life, Ray, I agree with you.
In the second half of the fight, the officials disagreed on only 2 rounds. In the 7th, when Kaczmarek had Hearns winning, and then in the 12th round, in which Shirley gave a 2-point round to Ray Leonard. At the end of the night, they were only apart by 2 points. They agreed on which fighter won 8 of the 12 rounds. Joining us now are the judges who touched off that firestorm of disbelief and protest, Jerry Roth and Dolby Shirley from Las Vegas, and in our New York studio, Tom Kaczmarek. Gentlemen, why do you think among you that there was such a disparity between what the public thought it saw and what you fellas thought you saw? Jerry?
Well, it's hard to speak for the public. Yeah, many people, I guess, thought Hearns won the fight over Leonard, maybe because he knocked him down a couple of rounds. I don't know. I can't speak for the public. I can only speak for the way I judge the fight and the outcome of my score.
Well, then let's address that business of the 2-point round and the fact that a fighter doesn't have to knock another fighter down to get a 2-point round. He can just beat him up badly enough to earn that. Dolby, is that how you saw that last round?
You're correct, yes. I felt that that the amount of punishment that Mr. Leonard inflicted on Mr. Hearns in that last round justified making that at 10-8. I had scored a 10-8 in a previous round, round 5, and I felt that the two of them were comparable, and that was why I used the 10-8 score in the 12th round.
Tommy, philosophically, Tommy Hearns may have won one or both of the first 2 rounds, which had very little action in them. And he did very little damage, as Leonard did to him. Now, in this last round, Ray Leonard did a lot of damage to Tommy Hearns. Should he only get the same credit for that round as Tommy Hearns got for one of those first 2 rounds?
You have to put it in perspective. In the first and second round, neither fighter was doing much. In the 12th round, both fighters did respond offensively. If you recall the beginning of the 12th round, Tommy Hearns came on rather strong, and he landed some scoring punches. Then Leonard picked up the action and did have a good middle and closing segment of the round. But Hearns, during that period, was still in the fight. He was not in the same kind of trouble he was in during the 5th round, and that's why I scored it a 10-9.
Just this last thing, Dolby, you've said that you were under the impression that you had given the fight to Hearns until you added up all the points at the end of the fight. So I suppose it can be fairly observed that if you had been out there in the stands, you might have booed your own decision.
Well, I first place never bet on a fight, so I don't think I've been booing the decision. And when you say that I added up the points, it was not myself that added up the points. They are added at the commission table, and I was just rather surprised that I came with a 112-112 conclusion to that fight because I felt like that Tommy Hearns did win the fight.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And I have a confession. Like Dolby Shirley, I was surprised when I added up my score, thinking Hearns had won, but giving him just a 1-point victory. After studying the tape of the fight twice, I switched the winner of one round and got a draw out of it, showing that what happens inside the ring really matters most. Who won, Leonard or Hearns? If you think Sugar Ray Leonard won the fight, dial 900-720-6141. If you think Tommy Hearns won, dial 900-720-6142. Each call costs 50 cents. We'll give you the results beginning with our first day of coverage of Wimbledon. That begins Monday, June 26th, 5 p.m. Eastern and Pacific Time, right here on HBO. Who won, or does it matter? Tommy and Ray, before you fellas rush to the phones, a couple more questions. Tommy, how distracted were you by the news about your brother being arrested on a murder charge just before the fight?
Well, I was able to basically I was very concerned about what was going on back home with my brother. But I was concerned about what I was doing too, about to get into. So I had to set one thing to the side, and that was to set my brother thing to the side for a minute and deal with what was really about to happen for me. And then after I finished with the fight, then I came back, I started concentrating more on my little brother.
Ray, there was some a personal impact perhaps on the fight for you as well. It's been publicized that you and your wife Juanita had been separated, yet she was there at the fight, and I understand she fainted at the fight, and then you flew back in a private jet. How is that situation being resolved?
Well, the personal matter, Larry, I kept it personal, and so it wasn't a factor in the fight like I'm keeping it now. But she fainted because she was under a great deal of pressure because she's about to open a new business. And I think that, along with the knockdowns and the fight itself, it kind of got the best of her. But she's fine now, thanks.
Just this. Tommy, do you want to fight Ray again? Do you want to fight anyone again?
Yes, I would love to fight Ray again.
Ray, are you going to fight Tommy Hearns again? Are you going to fight Roberto Duran? Are you going to fight anyone?
Well, first of all, I have to decide whether or not I'm going to fight again, Larry, and it's going to take a lot of soul searching because I want to know whether or not the guy Monday was Sugar Ray Leonard or just another person.
But from what you've said here tonight, it sounds as if there's still unfinished business on your mind.
Is that my chin or your chin, right?
That's my chin.
All right. I just want to make sure you're clear. I'm going to click
That's
on
my
you.
chin, Tommy.
Thank you very much, fellas. Finally, this. To me, as bewildering as the decision seemed at the time, was the contradictory response of many of the critics around the country. They were thrilled by the action, by the theatrical swings of fortune, by the wonder of it all. And then they insisted that the men who had just entertained and moved them were too old and should get out of here, retire. By that presumptuous standard, Magic Johnson will have to quit when he's 32 because he won't be as good as he was at 22. Eric Dickerson will be dismissed when he gains just 1,200 yards a season instead of his usual 1,600 or 1,700. While Tommy Hearns and Ray Leonard make up their own minds, My only vote is one of thanks for proving that a tie doesn't have to be like kissing your sister. It can be like kissing Kim Basinger. For Jim Lampley and the HBO staff, I'm Larry Merchant. A final chance to voice an opinion. If you think Sugar Ray Leonard won the fight, dial 900-720-6141. If you think Tommy Hearns won, dial 900-720-6142. Each call costs 50 cents. We'll give you the results beginning with our first day of coverage of Wimbledon. That begins Monday, June 26th, 5 p.m. Eastern and Pacific times here on HBO. Also, don't miss our next telecast of World Championship Boxing. Heavyweight champion Mike Tyson defends his title against top contender Carl the Truth Williams. Friday, July 21st, right here on HBO.